Thank you. So first of all, Ranjan, I want you to know that I love the level of commitment that you are in service. And there's nothing I've ever said or will say that will question your integrity. It will always be supporting your integrity and growing you as a human being. What I thought would be good today, Ranjan, especially since what's going on in India in February the 25th, is for me to give you some background on how this book of being came, because there's really a lot of spirit, source, and godness in doing this from different varieties of people around the world. So this is a short version, but I thought it would be really, really useful for you as an individual and anyone that's participating in the event, anyone that comes to the event, anyone who's creating the event, anyone who's a supplier for the event. I've been pretty happy being a coach in my own life, and I've never wanted anything like notoriety or fame, or that's not been important to me. My entire life's been about serving and loving and sharing with others what I've learned from my own mistakes. And I've been very open about that with people. Many people who come in I'm working with, they're stunned that I will share something. They'll talk about where they failed, and I said, let me tell you where I failed. Or somebody will say, I have a problem with anger, and I listen to that, and I say, oh, let me tell you about my problem with anger. So that they get that that's where I'm at. So my purpose in life is to see how many people I can love, learn from, and serve in one lifetime. And that's all I'm up to, no matter what it looks like to somebody else. Somebody thinks, this guy wants to be famous, he wants money. No. That may come with it. There may be something that comes up with it, but that's not it. All I'm interested in is who I'm being at any given particular time in my life. Who am I being? Because I know that if I'm being loving, I'm going to do loving things. If I'm being resentful, I'll do resentful things. So I'm not really worried about my doing because it comes out of my being. So I've been looking at being. So as I've coached Steve Chandler for 30 years. And I've never had notes. I've never been teaching him anything. I've always worked with him on state of being. And when he writes about me in the books, he says, it's interesting. I go into Steve Hardison and he says, so I got this problem. And Steve will always say, given your situation, who would you want to be? What would you want to create? So the way the book of being, and that's what I call it, the book of being, entitled The Ultimate Coach, the way it even got any life, it was in 2013, Alan D. Thompson came to do a Be With session with me. He was a young man, 26, maybe 27 years old. And at that time, he was coaching savant children, prodigies, and gifted kids. He's in my office for about 30 minutes, first time I'm ever seeing him, first time he's ever seen me. And as I'm working with him, he said, this is amazing what you're doing. And by the time we were done, he said, I want to write about this. We should write a book. And I said, Alan, I will never be writing a book. I'm not interested in a book. If I ever did write a book, the only book I would ever write would be a book on being. And if I started writing on being, it wouldn't be a book on being. It'd be a book writing about being, because being is a state. It's not a definition. It's not a description. It's not a recipe. It's a state of being. Well, he left, and he asked for permission to write about the experience in my office. He said he could, and he wrote whatever he wanted on it. And for the next almost 8 years, multiple times in a year, and I hadn't seen Alan any time since that first visit, he would say, we need to write a book about you. We need to write a book about what you're doing. And I would say, I'm never going to write a book. The book, my book, is my life. It's how I'm living. It's who I'm being. So it's not something that I need somebody to read about. It's who I'm being. And I say the chapters of my book are the people I work with. Steve Chandler, Michael Neal, Rich Litvin, Dusan Djukic, and whoever I work with. And then I say, but you need to understand, I'm not trying to coach coaches. I coach more people that aren't coaches than I've ever coached coaches. I'm coaching people on being. And then someone can choose to be a coach, be an athlete, be an artist, be a writer, be a CEO, be a salesman. I do not care. I don't care if we have one more athlete, one more talk show host, one more Iana, one more whoever. I care about who the person's being, and then they can choose what to do with who they're being. So I said, I won't be writing a book. Now, I can't tell you how many times he wrote or communicated about that, but it was many. Then on April 19th, 2020, I get an email from Alan Thompson. He said, Steve, God nudged me last night to write a biography on your life. So I invited him to call me, and I said to him, hey, let me talk you off the ledge. I don't need a biographer to write about me. I don't need someone to know I exist. The only people I care that know I exist is my God, my wife, and the client sitting across from me. That's all I need. And so we talked for a long time, and he said to me, Steve, I promise you, I'm not trying to do what you're doing. I'm not trying to get a job to be a biographer. This is a gift. I just need your okay to do it. And he said, speaking of himself, he says, I understand what peak performance is. I know who you are. I will give everything I've got. And I promise you that what you will be given is some quality of something that can be written into a book so that when someone reads it, they can learn about being. And up until that time he said that, I didn't think it would be possible. And I still at that moment was more of a faith thing to do. I said, okay, go. Well, the next morning, I had 180 pages. He'd been doing work for a long time, just waiting for me to say yes. And I get up and I say to Amy, look, this guy's got a title for the book. He's got this going on. And then for the next 60, 90 days, Alan is interviewing people all about being. So he interviews them all. He comes up with 622 pages of research, interviews, 100 interviews, clients, girls that I dated in school, the guy I bought my Porsche from, neighbors, people in England. And he sends a bound copy, 622 pages, to Amy. Amy reads it. Now, when he first called me, Alan said, now, if your wife wants to participate in this, she can. I said, no, my wife's busy writing the book. She's in the middle of her own book. So she's not going to be doing this. So when she got Alan's research, she read it, and she said, this needs a narrative. It's just too much this, that, facts. There's no story in it of life. So Amy spent 18 months, 6 hours a day, 6 to 8 hours, some days 10, writing a narrative to his information, cleaning up things, doing other interviews, actually interview clients when they come to my house. And then I read the book, the manuscript, and I said, it doesn't have what it needs. It's missing something. Now, I'm a man of meditation and prayer. In fact, I say that my life is meditative. I'm meditating in most everything I do, including in this phone conversation. My meditation in this is to be so loving and have you have a distinction on the state of being, and that anyone that listens to this, it will alter what happens in that room February 25th. This is pure meditation right now. So I go to bed at night with the concern that we've got this book, that if someone reads the book as it is, it'll be a book about some guy. So I meditate, and I'm awakened at 3 a.m. in the morning. And I am told exactly what to write on the back cover. I go to my desk, and it writes through me. Now, Chris Nelson, Alan's the one who did all the research from Australia. Chris Nelson's the editor, and Amy's the writer. All three of them were like, you can't put that on the back cover of the book. And I told them, if this is on the back cover of the book, this book will not go out. Then I reread the book again based on the questions on the back. I did the same thing again in meditation. At another point, I was awakened and told what to write at the front of the book. 2 pages. Now you can imagine I was with those three a few days earlier, and they're making a concession to put this thing on the back of the book that they don't think should be on the back of the book. And now I come to them and say, we need to put 2 pages on the front. And they were very similar. Amy said to me, well, you already have a foreword, you have an introduction, you can't stick 2 pages in the front of the book, and that's just not something that would go. And I literally said, if the back cover does not have what the back cover has on it, and the front 2 pages aren't there, the book will just sit. It will not go anywhere. Now, during that time, a man who's written many books read the manuscript, and he said, that's a really fabulous book. Then I sent the same book back with the covers on it, and he literally called me when he was through reading, and he said, God spoke to you of what to put on the back cover of that book and the front pages. I said, you can call it what you want, but I know if a person would take that book, read the back cover first, then read the first 2 pages at the front of the book, then read the book about themselves, they will have experience like they've never had before. And if they want to be convicted and committed, they would read the back cover first, the first 2 pages at the front of the book, then read 2 or 3 chapters or whatever it is, take a break, go for a walk, go swimming, and when they come back and they read again, they read the back cover, then they read the first 2 pages before they begin the next chapter. That is the intention of the book. The book is not about Steve Hardison. The book is not about an ultimate coach. The book is about who do you need to be to have your life be lit up by those questions in your life. So several experiences right after this happened. The first one, the book is in England somehow before it gets in America. I get a call from an English lady, and she asked me, can you tell me who it was that gave me that book? And I don't know who I'm talking to. And I said, I don't know who gave you the book. She said, let me tell you what happened. She tells me about being on a bus. A lady gives her a book, asks her to read the back cover, the front 2 pages, then read the book about herself. And so this lady does this. And this lady's calling me a complete stranger and says, I'm not going to harass the person. I just want to thank them. And I say, I don't know who they are. I say, this is happening around the world. People are doing this. And she said, well, I want to thank somebody. And I said, tell me what happened. And she says, I had such an alteration in who I was. I want to thank that person. I said, here's how you can thank that person. You be the lady on the bus. You get some copies of that book, and you share it with someone. Commit them to read the back cover, the front 2 pages, before they read the book. That woman has done that plus some. The next person that was like that, Gabby Puma. We have 15 minutes. Beautiful. Okay, so I shared with you the lady on the bus. You got that. And then it went over and I began talking about Gabby, and then we got cut off?
Yes, Steve.
Okay, so let me just say something again to you, Ranjan. I love you. My intention, Judy that put on the event in Arizona and Matt that put on the event in London, they were my children. I was so interested in what they did. There's so much growth that happened with Judy, so much growth that happened with Matt. I promise you the growth that's going to occur with you will be life-altering. And if you want to experience detail, talk to Judy just another time about her own life, what's happened. Because you taking on this huge commitment is very challenging, very big, and it's like a PhD program you get to go through on leadership. And I'm for you. Do you understand that?
Yes, Steve.
Okay. So what occurred, like unto the lady on the bus that I invited to go and be the lady on the bus and share the books with, was a gal named Gabby Puma that I did not know. I had never met her. She sends me a video recording about her experience of reading the book. It's probably the most emotional thing I've ever seen about someone's transformation from reading or seeing or whatever. And it's mind-blowing. And if she wants to ever share it, sometimes she can. But it's 15 minutes of this gal from Peru that's telling me about what happened in her world. Then she sends me a video where she's waiting for the UPS or the Prime Amazon truck to get 30 books. And she's talking on the video. My books are to arrive. They're supposed to come. She's sitting on the porch waiting for these books. She gets these $30. And she has the people read it, back cover, front 2 pages, then read through the book about you. Has mind-blowing experiences with clients, relatives, people in her world. In a very short period of time, I'm talking to her on the phone, and she knows what Alan Thompson's done, where he spent 20 years. He says, I'm going to do a Facebook thing. I'm committed for 20 years. And he was not paid to do that. That's just the generosity of his heart. The same way that Alan Thompson did all the research. The same way my wife wrote. We didn't write a book to make money. We wrote a book so people could understand state of being. So Gabby's on the phone with me, and she says, I want to do something like Alan Thompson. Now, if she had known the future, she could have said, I want to do something like Judy Salaga or Judy Thurison. I want to do something like Matt Smith. But those haven't happened yet. Or she could say, I want to do something like what Ranjan's doing in India. So she was saying, I want to contribute. And I said to her, this is in January. And I said to Gabby, you live in Peru. Yes. I said, my wife and I will be going to Peru in October. Do you write Spanish? She said, yes. I said, if you want to contribute, why don't you take the Book of Being and translate it into Spanish before we get there? That's in January. She said, I'll do that. Well, she's translated it into Spanish and Quechua. And when I went down to Peru, we sat with 12 copies of the book in Spanish. She has taken on doing the Facebook group in the Spanish language worldwide, all contributing out of who she's being. She's had such experience on the state of being. So now picture that. Now picture a client of mine named Clayton Mask, who's going to be part of the event. He comes into my office. He's in the Book of Being. I've coached him for 12 years. He's read the Book of Being. I ask him to reread it. Don't read it about you, about me, Clay. Read it about you. And people say, oh, I did. No, they didn't. Unless they use those questions every time they read it before they're reading it about me. Don't shortchange yourself. The event is not about me. It is not about the speakers. The event is about the person, who they're being. The event is about who you're being creating the event. The event's about who other people are being as they create the event. It is not about the speaking or the event. It is about being. So I said, I want you to read the book, back cover, front 2 pages, by the time we're together next. Clayton Mask, who has already read the book, has experienced me for 12 years. He doesn't need to know a damn thing about me. He needs to know about him. He comes back in, and he's so moved. He said, I had unbelievable experiences. And see, this is what we want anybody who walks in that room to have. That's why having a copy of the book and consuming it before they get there is what makes the event explosive. If we put 500, 300, 200 people in a room and they come in there, they're going to discover if they like these speakers or not, they're missing the point, and so would you be. It's about them, getting them prepared for the state of being. So when Clay comes in, he shares with me what's gone on. I say, what would you like to do? He said, I want my employees to have the opportunity to read this book about them and who they're being. That very day, and he said, I'm not going to have the company pay for them. I'm paying for them out of my own pocket. He purchased 380 that day. Not, I'll wait and order them. He got 380 books that day, and his organization called KEEP, K-E-A-P, he's committed these different people to read it. If somebody doesn't want to read it, he doesn't give it to them. So the Book of Being, entitled The Ultimate Coach, everywhere else in the world it's called that. People address it as that. When the people put the event on in Arizona, they call it the Book of Being entitled The Ultimate Coach. In London, the Book of Being entitled The Ultimate Coach. The Book of Being entitled it's a book about the person reading it. So the final story like that I'll share with you is Iyanla. She wrote the introduction to the book. She proofread the book. She's all over in the book. She was quite surprised one day when I said, Iyanla, I want you to reread the book. And she said, I've read it. I'm in it. I wrote the foreword. I said, I want you to read it about you. I want you to take and read the back cover, read the front 2 pages, read whatever you read, and when you stop and you begin again the next day, read the back cover, read the front 2 pages, and read the entire book. Long story short, she communicates back with me. She tells me about amazing experiences, and then she says, you'll never get what I spoke about when I just spoke in New York. And she's hired to speak all over the world. It's paid well to speak. I said, what? She said, I spoke on being. I spoke on the book of being. I committed people to read the book of being, back cover, front 2 pages. So my call to you, Ranjan, is this is not a seminar. This is about the human being, B-E-I-N-G, the one in the seat, the human being. That would be you and your interaction with Matt, and Matt's interaction with you, and your interaction with this and that. That's what this is about. It's not about getting something done. It's about creating a state of being. So I wanted to call you and tell you that in fact, to say this in a more strict, this whole event is about who you're being. This whole event is about who Ben Buckley's being. This whole event is about who Rebecca's being. This whole event about is Judy Salago or Thurston who just called me and who she's being. But the most important person that will be in that event is the person that's going to be paying to come in and discover who they're being. That's who this whole thing's for. When I was in London, and I'm the concluding speaker there, we had over 500 people who purchased the book, promised to read the book, and read it about them, back cover, first 2 pages. When I got up to speak, I said to them, how many of you read the back cover of this book, read the front 2 pages of the book before you began chapter 1, before you began the introduction, before you began the forward? How many of you did that? Stand up. Now, I'll say 97% of the room stood up. Not everyone stood up because we got camera people in there who maybe didn't get the book or whatever, or people that were, and I would, if I'd have known that, I wouldn't have had them come in the room. I would have made sure the camera people read the book as well. So they stand up, and I say to them, if you experienced a shift in your being from reading the back cover of the book and the front 2 pages of the book of being entitled The Ultimate Coach, remain standing. Ranjan, how many people do you think were still standing?
How many, Steve?
All of them.
Great.
And you know what I said? You know what I said? I said, there's only one person on this planet that should sign the book that allowed you to alter your state of being, and that's the person who alters your state of being, and you did it. Guess who should sign your book?
Yes.
I never signed a book in England. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I'm not trying to sell a book. I'm not trying to become famous. I'm not trying to become known. Those people had an alteration in their state of being. They signed the book. No one came up and said, hey, will you sign my book? And I had plenty of people come up and hug me and love me. This is about them, not you, not me, not Clay. And it's about you, Clay, and me, but about who we're being, not about me like, hey, what do I get? Who am I? I promise you, if you take this on from this place, and you, with everything you got going on, you really read this about you and anybody that's participating. You got somebody that's doing the financial stuff. If he's reading it about being him and he happens, it alters everything. And I'm not questioning what you currently have. It just puts a rocket on it. So there would be a way to find out how in the world do we get the book to people so they can read it from a committed place. Now, someone committed would do what they need to do. Because if someone understood what this book would be, they'd freaking get in a boat and paddle 6 miles or 7 miles to go get a book or buy a book or get a book. Now, like I said to you on the phone, I told Pooja, Amy's going to give you, her or whoever wants to do it, a certain amount of time. You can publish the book and you guys can use the money to put the event on, or you can contribute the money. I'm not trying to make money from a book. And we'll give that a limited time so it makes the book available. But if I'm in India and I'm you leading it, I'm going to have such an experience on it. I'm going to let people know, you want to get this book. I don't care if it costs you $70, $60. Get the book and read it. Man, who would not want to have their life altered by reading a book?
Yes, Steve.
And I promise you, anybody who reads it like I just told you about will think, my gosh, I would have done anything for this. And until you and all the leaders get that, you'll be putting on a course. Not a miracle. Not a being shift. So then questions start coming to you as you read. Who would I need to be to get the kind of money that we need to have the backup? Who would I need to be to involve Matt? Who would I need to be to make sure that, and you're not doing it all. Who would you need to be? Not do it. Because I'm in the background working with you every day. You just don't know it.
Yes, Dave. I know that, Dave.
And this is me supporting you. I'm not questioning you, man. I'm saying you are at the top of something extraordinary. Make sure you're a product of the book of being by how you're being.
Yes, Dave.
Make sure you're a product of the book of being by how you're being. I won't go into details, but I'll share this with you, and this is okay to be recorded. It's not going to be fun. Somebody that listen to this can misinterpret it. But I've had experiences in the book where I've got a prison inmate that's broken out of prison that my neighbor wants to shoot, and who I'm being with him is loving. So we handle that in a loving way. Now, I could make up a bunch of stuff in my mind about what I needed to do with that gentleman that would have me be unkind to him. But who I'm being won't allow me to do that to a person because I'm going to understand and get to some place of unity to assist. My neighbor would shoot and kill him, the same person. I don't mean that literally, but he literally had a gun. He would want to do that. He may not do it, but that's his feeling in his heart. So what I'm speaking to is, who are you being when you're pressed up against? You want that to be a real growth edge for you. There shouldn't be anybody in here that's doing stuff with you that where they are is they're eliminated. I wouldn't eliminate anything. That's my growth. So I have a client I worked with for 4 years. I did everything. Picture whoever you think my best client ever was. Picture me working 4 years with them. And then they move out of state. Everything we worked on created a difference in his life, his profession, his family, his ideology. And then he moves and he changes who he's being, so he goes back to the old mess. He calls me up. I've got a full schedule. He says, it's important, I'm going to fly into Phoenix. I need to see you. We come in. I have him go with me on my walk that I do every other day. And he's asking me things, and I'm being very direct with him. I said, you have created this you have stopped being generous. You have stopped being authentic. You've stopped being loving to your wife. You've created your own mess, and you're going to have to get yourself out of the mess. And so I declined him on 3 or 4 things so he'd understand that I won't be doing that. He's got to solve and fix that himself. And the interesting thing was his wife had to come pick us up because his feet got sore from wearing sandals that I told him he wouldn't be able to walk in the sandals. And he said, no, I'll be fine. And when I got in the car with them, I made sure she knew that I wasn't going to do A, B, C, or D that he'd asked for, and I wanted her to know that. Both of them thanked me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. He said, thank you for seeing me when you had no time. She said, thank you, thank you, thank you for helping us again. They go away, fly out of the state. Guess what I get the next day from him? I don't expect a gift from anyone, but if someone just gave me 2 hours in the middle of the day that I didn't expect, and it's from me, and they did something to really get me back on track, I might send them a thank you card or a rose or whatever. Guess what he did, Ranjan?
Tell me, Steve.
He sent me a threat, death threat.
Oh my God.
Death threat. Death threat.
Oh my God.
A death threat. And do you know how I read the death threat? Man, I love this man. I'm so sorry that his mind's in place that what he would want to do is kill someone that loved him. Who are you being when the world looks like it's doing something to you? Who are you being when someone hates you? Who are you being If this man walked into my room right now where I'm walking, he listened to me talk and have zero fear of him. I love him to death. I pray for him. I love him. And his last communication with me is, I'd like to kill you, put you in your grave, with a lot of F-bombs around it. Doesn't change who I am. If he were to walk in the room right now, and I'm talking on the phone, he puts a pistol right at me, gets ready to blow my chest wide open. You know the last thing I'm going to tell him, Ranjan? 3 words.
I love you.
You better believe it. This is not a book about some dude. This is a book about the possibility of who humanity can be in the sight of anything. It's not a look good thing. It's not a sell a bunch of seats thing. It's like, who the hell are we all being while we do this? I would challenge you to have everyone who's part of this read and understand the book of being. Understand that what this is about. Look at a way to unify. Take good people. If I had time, I would read to you. There's a gentleman from, I think he's from Europe. I'll say Europe. This is a real communication this day. I've helped him probably for 3 months, never seen him, just helping him on the side, assisting him with the problem. And this morning I get because he didn't like however he got what he's got, and I'm just serving him. He wrote, and it's a kind of a really curt thing to say this in America. He said, "You are a cunt." That's like a disgrace. That's just horrible language here. It's saying like you're below the worst. And you know what I responded to him? Thank you for sharing. Loving you. Be blessed. This is about being, Ranjan. This has nothing to do with doing. All you're doing will shape out of your being. And if you're being scared, you'll do scared doing. If you're being threatened, you'll do threatened doing. If you're being territorialized, you'll do territorialized doing. This is the greatest growth experience you personally could ever have. If the only thing that happened from this event was your growth to be an extraordinary leader, it will have been worth it for me to get in a plane and fly over and you and I just hug. And if you get the idea of being, and you take these people who have already put on events and understand being and put it together, and I'm not about numbers. You can have 1,000 people in a room with flow. It would be coming from a being place. So fundamentally, I never wanted a book. What I'm grateful for is the amount of people who have been able to shift their being. The lady on the bus, Iana Van Sant, Gabby Puma, and the hundreds and hundreds on the Facebook group, and the thousands that will be in India when the Indian population know there's a book that I read the back cover, the front 2 pages, and read a book about myself. And when I'm done, I'm the star of my own book, and I signed my own book because I altered my own life.
Yes, Steve.
Thank you for listening. That's the background of everything the Book of Being is built on. And it's built on pure service. Every penny we have made, anywhere we've made it, we've donated it.
Yes, Steve.
There are people who have volunteered to translate it in Farsi, German, French. There are people who want to do ultimate experiences around the world. This will be the last one we physically go do. We will have other people do it that want to do it, but it will be driven by Eric Lawfolm, who understands being. And so speakers will all go through that. People will, before somebody, if I were to back this up, because remember Amy and I weren't coming? Do you remember that? Let me listen. Yes, at one point, Amy and I were not coming.
Yes, when I called you, when I called you,
yes.
You actually said yes, but then you called me again after 20 minutes, and
yes.
you said that Amy, you misunderstood probably what Amy said, and you apologized for this miscommunication, and you said you weren't coming at that point of time, and if you said you said, Ranjan, you can go ahead, you create the event, but at this moment we aren't ready. And the moment we are ready,
Yes.
we will let you know. I will call you and will
Yes.
tell you that we are coming. But at this point of time, I don't give a confirmation of our coming. Uh,
Yes.
and
Yes. And the reason we decided, which you moved us by what you were doing. So it then took it from something that would be convenient not to come to do something inconvenient that would serve other people.
yes, Steve.
And if I could change one thing, I would have said to you, here's what you need to do. You need to make sure that any person that's going to be in that room has read the book. You need to make sure you have X number of people, and when you do that, let me know and we'll come. That's my error to not say that. I did that with Arizona. I did that with England. Not about having people in the room. About that way they could cover their expenses. I'm not asked for a penny. Have you noticed that?
Yes, Steve. Yes.
So now know that this call is 100% based on committing and loving you. No critique, no judgment. State of being to love you.
Yes, Steve.
Now let me listen to what you want to say. And if you want to record this part of you talking, do so. And if you don't, turn it off.
I feel blessed, Steve. And if I know that you know what I am going through and what I was thinking and what was happening, and I still want to have it recorded as part of the call.
Yeah.
And
Beautiful.
And trust me, I wanted to call you. I wanted to seek your help in cleaning up the mess. And
Yes.
and I know that this one step of courage is most important for me in my life. And yes, I was operating through fear and a lot of different emotions, but on the other side, I had other team members who I felt I have to safeguard, and there are several things involved which I couldn't share with you or with anybody else, but I knew them, and I didn't want that mess to happen to this event or experience, but I was missing the point. I was missing the point that it's who I am being is more important than what happens.
Correct. It's who you're being when someone comes and says, blah, 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 this is happening to me.
And I had a question.
Says, blah, 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 this is happening to me.
Yeah, and I had a question, Steve. The incident that you revealed about the man who somebody was about to shoot, and you were being loved to this guy, and I really wanted to ask you. I wanted to call you and ask you what would you do in my situation, and who would you be in a situation where I took a responsibility of such a big thing, and then I get somebody who maybe I according to my context or my situations, I feel is a threat to this, and I jump into action and I say, no, I have to safeguard this, I have to safeguard my team members, and I have to do something here, but then I fell into the trap of the mind, and I get into action, but then I am distracted from my point of being, and I am rendered helpless and confused and sleepless and all these things.
Yes, I understand.
And Steve, since this is being recorded, I would love everybody to know how this is disturbed, because I never wanted to hate anybody. I never wanted to hurt anybody.
Yes.
And
Yes.
on the other side, I wanted to help my teammates, the other people who saying, Ranjan, we don't want this in the group. Please take an action. Please be decisive. Do something. We don't want this to mess up the other members. And I felt, okay, this is an immediate action that I have to take for the safety of others. But on the other side, I never wanted to be mean to somebody in this process.
Yes.
And I read the message, and one of the message that, Ranjan, we are trying to reach you, but we are confused, and I really wanted to talk to them. But see, the game of the mind is like, what will happen if I talk to them? Will they drag me into a conversation?
Yes.
Will they drag me into an argument? Will they, how how will I explain what happened and what I was fearing and
Yes.
everything? And
Yes.
and I spoke with Gabby this evening for 2 hours, and I told Gabby, this is the situation. I want to clean up the mess. Please help me. I reached out to Ankush. I said, Ankush, I want to talk to you. I reached out to Mike coaches. I said, Mike, I want to clean up the mess. I really want to do it. Please help me. But really, 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 I didn't know. I wanted to come from a being of love, but
Yes.
my imagination or my assumption or what I believe is a reality was like, if you do this, this might happen. If you do this, that might happen. And uh,
Yes.
this is a big responsibility. What if this, somebody targets it in a different way and it gets ruined in. So that was what was happening. And shall I tell you the truth? It's a blessing. I don't know how it happened. And you call me and you talk about it, and we are talking the same thing. The reason I wanted to call you about.
Is beautiful. Now, may I answer some of the questions you just asked me?
Yes, Steve. Yes, let's go on. I want to listen to this.
Okay. So I'm inviting you to be very open for this as a really growing experience for both of us.
Yes,
First
Steve.
of all, I admire and acknowledge your commitment to stand for and protect this thing you're doing, but you need to know the best way to protect it is to have everybody learn how to be part of it. So one of the things that needs to be is for there to be a common reason it's happening. And the common reason it's happening is who we can be. So if we're committed to who we're being, it changes people being petty. It changes people being, I'm going to give you some bad news about this person. It changes being, I got to protect something. It changes everything. So if you're, and you are, I'm saying if you're genuine, meaning if you want to actually do something, you want to be able to look and see that your intention is really great. But whatever you think you're protecting creates a story that creates someone else in being criminal. When there's no criminal there, even if other people say, hey, there's a criminal here. And I'm not saying don't look for information. I'm saying, let's talk about it. In fact, how about if the three of us get together and see what there is? Because what we're doing is we're learning how to be, and we're creating a team of being. So let's see how we can be loving and kind of see what really is behind the curtains. Can you hear that? You can't believe how many phone calls I get that are none about something. I listen and I create something powerfully, and I don't take information and go make it bad everywhere. I handle it with who's in front of me. Now, so whatever you've done. I'm not critiquing it. I really appreciate you listening to me, and when you're tired, tell me, because I know it's late. I will give you everything I got.
No, this is most important, Steve. This is most important.
I promise people there will be a miracle out of this. The people who are in their different frames of mind, I promise them all there'll be a miracle. Guess who I'm being? I'm being will have a miracle. Guess what kind of doing comes out of being a miracle? Miraculous doing. I'm not bad-mouthing. I'm not getting even. I'm not resenting. I'm understanding and listening, trying to resolve in love. Go ahead and threaten to kill me. I'm sorry you feel that way. I still love you. You're going to be okay. Let's get some help from the police department. Let me work you back in there. The last thing I said about Dama when the cops, I said, be soft with him. I love him. It's a choice. Now, I'm going to share a story with you that's about all these things that are happening. And you're going to have to apply it to yourself. And I realized that I don't speak your language, and if I did, I would. Then I wouldn't miss anything. And I apologize. I don't speak your language, and you're so great because you know English, and I don't know any of your language. So I apologize. And I barely know English. People say you just speak bad American. Anyway, so I get a call. Can you listen to this?
Yes, Steve.
This is about any of your calls you've received from anybody and who you've then been after you receive the calls. That's what this story's about. It's not about me. It's not I'm cool. It's not about the people that called me. It's I want you to see something. And then it'll be clear what we can do talking about how to clean this up and have the most miraculous experience and event that ever occurred in India. Not to be cool, not to sell seats, not to sell books, not to be known, because of what it will have on the impact of the Indian culture and anybody from any other country that's in India and then goes home. So I get a call one day from a man named Fitz Rabin. I'm even quoting his name because he knows about the story, and he's okay with the story, and so is the other man that's involved in the story. So there isn't anything I got to hide around the corner. I got somebody that's a bad guy, and you're going to hear experience that I could have turned people in bad guys easily. And I chose not to turn anybody into a bad guy. I chose to turn everybody into something wonderful. So I get a call from Fitz Rabin. I can't give you all the dates and times. Just hear the story. He calls me up and he says, Steve, I want you to know, and this is the short version, so there's more to it, but this is all we need for today. I want you to know that your life has changed my life. What I've learned from you, blah, blah, blah. And he's saying that. And I said, that's great. Whatever happened? He says, man, I heard a recording of you talking to somebody, and it changed my life. And I said to him, well, that's interesting because I don't allow people to record me. Do you notice I gave you permission today?
Yes, Steve.
And I gave Alan Thompson permission. I've never given anybody else permission. Everybody knows I don't want to be recorded. I want them to be present. So when Fitz says, well, I listened to this recording, my antenna came up, and I said, Fritz, how in the world could you listen to a recording about me? I don't do recordings. And he said, well, someone called you, and you didn't know they were recording you. Now, picture that being me. I'm trying to help somebody, and they're being deceptive and recording me without telling me they're recording me.
Exactly.
So I say to Fitz, hey, I'm not mad about who recorded me, but whoever recorded me knows that I don't allow that, so they've got to feel bad about, hey, I did that, and now they're letting you listen to it, and they're probably having other people listen to it. And I said, he can't feel good about that, because even you knew he shouldn't be recording it, because it came in the conversation that Fitz knew that I don't allow that.
Exactly, Steve. Steve, can I just, because so that I don't miss what I wanted to say. This was one of the things I wanted to ask you. Without my permission, if somebody records my call, you answered the question already, Steve. You answered it. And I felt...
Which question?
Which
question?
No, this is what I wanted to ask you, because this is what I was feeling. Someone recorded my call and then passed on to someone, and that was what was stopping me from call the person again and clean the mess up. And you just answered the question. I can hear it. Yes.
So there's nothing here I'm trying to teach you. I want you to see something, and you can teach yourself. So the gentleman who called me is Fitz Rabin. He is telling me that this thing he listened to altered his life. It's not whether it alters his life. It's like he listened to something that wasn't supposed to have happened. And I say, Fitz, I would like to talk to the person who actually recorded that. And Fitz said, oh, I can't tell you. I don't want to get him in trouble. I said, if you're not going to get him in trouble, we're going to create a miracle. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'd like you to go call him and talk to him and tell him that you spoke to me and tell him that you let me know that this recording that happened actually changed your life. And you called to thank me about it. And I was a little dumbfounded of how you could hear a recording that changed your life when I don't do recordings, especially at that time. There was none. And he said, well, this guy's not going to like it. And I said, well, only if you approach him like he's going to be in trouble or he's bad. I have no animosity for him. I really want it to be a learning experience for him. And I said, do you understand what I'm wanting you to do, Fitz? I'm wanting you to create a miracle. I'm wanting you to do something that's beyond ordinary, that you would call him up and tell him that you spoke to me and that I said, I want to talk to him with you. He's not in trouble. I want to talk him with you so we can sort out what's happening here so I can serve him in his life. And Fitz said, I'll make a phone call. He calls me back, and he says, if you call me in an hour, I'm going to be in the guy's office, and we'll take a phone call from you. So now picture that. Fitz calls, wanting to tell me what a great thing happened. Now he goes talks to a guy. Who would Fitz need to be to convince this guy that he ought to have a conversation with me, that he's not in trouble, that there's going to be something out of that conversation that's going to be valuable for the person that recorded it, and that I'm committed to have it be great? So picture he drives from one part of New York to another part. I'm on the phone. Now I'm on with a guy named Fitz Rabin and Barry Schwartz. And some months earlier, again, can't get the timetables all right. I'm just telling you the story off the cuff here, but somebody want to go document it all. And they both know it. They've spoken about it. They're very open about it. I'm talking to the two of them in Barry Schwartz's law office. He's a lawyer. And I'm on a speakerphone, and I happen to have my son with me, Blake, who was a client. And the first thing I said to Barry and to Fitz is, hey, I've got my son here. I just want you to know he's here. Is it okay if he listens to the conversation? And I was modeling. Because, they both said yes. And I said, now that would have been nice, Barry, if you had to let me know you were recording my conversation. And I'm okay that you didn't honor that, and I'm not mad at you. Let's talk about what we can learn. And then I had him tell his story, and I said, now, so notice how interesting this is, Barry. You called me. This is after listening to him retell his version of it. You called me, and you're asking me to help you, and I'm helping you for 30, 40 minutes. And twice in that phone conversation, I actually asked you, Barry, are you recording this? And Barry, do you remember what you told me? You told me no. I said, Barry, if you're doing that with me, I'm suggesting whether you're actually recording someone else in reality of recording someone, you're doing the equivalent of something you shouldn't be doing, and you think it's okay. I'm curious to what your relationship might be like when you have one like that. If I'm asking you directly, you're not recording me, and you are, and you tell me no, what the hell are you telling a girlfriend? What the hell are you telling a client? You're a lawyer? Wow, do you get the challenge of this, Barry? I'm not mad at you. Here's what I would ask you to do, Barry. I'm okay that you did what you did. We wouldn't have this conversation otherwise. I want you to write down and see where else you're doing this. I'm helping him. Where else are you, quote, recording something you shouldn't be, and it may be literally you doing that, or you're doing a behavior you shouldn't do, and you play like it's not there. I want you to write those all down and see them. Because this you can clean up. I can help you. You don't need to continue to live like this. And then I committed him to write stuff down. Then I said to Fitz, Fitz, you think you're out in the clear, don't you? What do you mean? I said, you're an accomplice to this. You knew he wasn't to record it, and you listened to it. And you probably shared it with other people or shared your experience. And he said to me, well, that did great stuff in my life. That's not a problem for me. And I used this little analogy with both of them. Okay, Fitz, you're saying that isn't a metaphor, an analogy. I hope that converts in Indian. I said, you're saying that Barry robbed the bank. He's the one who robbed the bank. He recorded the call when he shouldn't have. I didn't rob the bank. Yeah, but you took the money and you knew the money was from a bank robbery. You took money that you knew was from a bank robbery. You say, I didn't rob the bank. You took stolen money. So let me tell you what you both can go clean up. Barry, you can look in your own world wherever you have done these things, because if you write them, you're going to find them all over. And Fitz, you need to do the same thing. You actually owe me an apology for taking some of my money that somebody stole from me. And if you both want to clean it up, here's how we can clean it up. Barry, you have a recording of my voice with you. You've stolen my voice. And you have had other people listen to it. So you want to clean this up with me, Barry? I said, yeah, send me the recording. Don't give it to anybody else. Go apologize whoever you gave the recording to. And Fitz, you do A, B, C, and D. And Barry said to me, I didn't have anybody else listen to it. I said, that's a lie. He said, you're just doing with me what you did before. Go clean it up wherever it's at. Go clean it up. We're good. He said, why do you want me to send you a recording of me recording you? I said, well, there's an interesting thing here. Fitch told me that when he listened to that recording of me and you, that recording did more in his life than anything to move his life. Now, on this phone call with you, when you were justifying you recording it, you said to me, hey, it wasn't a big deal. You didn't say anything important on the call. Barry, Fitz's life is changed by something he listened to that you recorded that you shouldn't have, and you, to justify yourself, you say, hey, there wasn't anything important. You want to look at the discrepancy between that. And I say, Barry, do you want me to tell you why you didn't see it as important and why Fitz saw it as important? Is because the time you were listening to me, Barry, you were stealing from me. The time you were listening to me, you were nefarious. You were coming from a place that you knew wasn't good. You weren't listening to me. You were thinking, what's the next thing you're going to say to try to get some information out of me so you could have somebody listen to it. You could be a cool dude because you had a conversation with Steve Hardison. I said, you want to see that, Barry? Because if you see that, your world will change. That's the short version. Well, these two got together. Barry's son does a podcast, a young boy, and he had his son do a podcast on this event. And he turned himself in while his son's interviewing him, talking about stealing from another man, stealing a voice. Barry Schwartz, his initials are BS. And I joked with him, BS, that's bullshit here. People bullshit. They say stuff that's not. I say, you got the appropriate initials, BS. I'm straight with him. And then we created something in the future so he has something different with what BS stands for. And if you ever want to know what that is, it's very motivating to live into. You'll have to talk to him. I'll have to share that with you. It's a whole different story. But I just kept loving and serving the guy. Can you hear that?
Yes, Steve. Yes.
Yes. And it's a step at a time. It's not be me. I don't want you to be me. I want you to be you, except upgrade who you're being. Now, you ask, what would I do in these situations? It'd be very simple for me to know what I do. I would look at around where people that I have kicked off of the team, I would call them up, and I would apologize, and I would tell them. I wouldn't just use a lot of time justifying to save my ass. I would not do that. I would say I wasn't thinking clearly. Because those two people, man, if I was running a business right now, I would hire Ben and I would hire Rebecca. They're unbelievable. And it's not that you're not unbelievable, but you're believing who you were being. So if you decided to call them up and be humble and use who they are, and then you'd have to clean up some of the nonsense you said about these people. And so would they if they put anything somewhere. So say someone comes into what I call perpetrating another person. Someone's perpetrating you. I listen. I stand for who you are, and I see what I can have them see. And I try to put things together. People have communicated with me that feel like it's down and out and they're gone. I say, a miracle will come from this. You watch. Do you know who's being a miracle? Do you know who's being a miracle?
Yes.
I am being a miracle. I'm having conversations in the face of this mess, believing that a miracle will come. If I'm being a miracle, guess what kind of doing I will do? Miraculous. If I take a strawberry seed and I plant it, what kind of fruit do I get?
Strawberry.
If I take a strawberry and I plant it, what kind of fruit will I get from a strawberry seed?
Strawberry.
If I plant a coconut, what kind of tree will I get?
Coconut, yeah, Steve.
If I plant being miraculous, what kind of outcome is going to happen?
Miraculous.
If I'm being an asshole, what kind of doing am I going to do?
Asshole.
If I'm being critical, what kind of doing am I going to do?
Critical.
If I'm being thoughtful, what kind of doing am I going to do?
Thoughtful.
If I'm being inclusive, what kind of doing am I going to do? If I'm being resentful, if I'm being territorial, life is simple. It's all about who you're being. That's what this whole course is about. That's what everything's about. If I'm you, I call it any of those people. And I apologize. That guy who called me a cunt today, I simply said, thank you for sharing. Loving you, be blessed. I have no animosity. He's got his
Steve.
point of view.
Yes, Steve.
So you have done tremendously balancing and doing all the stuff you've got. Include people. When we had that call the other day, man, Fiona, Ankish, Raghav, Matt, Judy over here, they'll all throw in their life to help you. And the other, some people that aren't. And then the people that are in there that thinking other people are, in board, they're not good. Well, sort it out. Get them sorted out together. Final thing, I think. Who knows? I love you. Can you hear that I'm giving my life to you? Can you hear I'm losing my voice?
Yes, Steve. Yes, yes.
That's my state of being in love for who you are, Ranjan. I was with a client, Clayton Mask, who'll be communicating in India. He wanted me to interview a gal. So I interviewed a top person coming in, and I knew as I was interviewing her that she was not telling me the truth, that there was something about who she was being that she needed to paint a different picture. And when she did it, I said that to her. I said, Christina, I'm not comfortable about what you're telling me. Shall we start this interview over? And we were in it 30 minutes. So she told me a lot of mistruths. And I said, why don't you tell me the truth about who you are? I'm really interested in learning about you. So now she tells me the truth, which was as different from what she had told me before. And now she's crying. She said, I'll never get this job now. And I said, I'm not sure about that, Christina. Are you willing to work on your integrity? Are you willing to get more familiar with what's real and not what you've got to pretend? She says, I've never been able to do that in my life. I didn't ask you if you've ever been able to do it. I said, are you willing to begin it? She said, yes, this has been so good to be able to tell you the truth. I take her from where I'm sitting. I go into the CEO's office that I coach. I say, Reese, this is Christina. Christina, this is Reese. Let me tell you the story Christina just told me. I tell him the 6 or 7 lies. I tell him what she'd cleaned up. I said, we should hire her. I can work with her. If I wanted to see a liar, I could do that. Why do I want to see that? Why wouldn't I want to be with that? But am I so self-righteous I do everything right so I can condemn and pick on other people? Hell, that's what's going on. Anywhere this is going on. I'm not saying turn your head from lawlessness. I'm saying create. We're creating. Hell, the best Ben Buckley with the best you makes a fantastic team. The worst you with the worst him makes a horrible thing. The best Rebecca with the best you makes a great team. The best anybody with the best me, I don't care who it is, it's great. I'm looking for the best and cultivating the best and being open and forgiving. If I'm you, I'm leading this. I'm going out there and getting people on my team. If Fiona would be on my team, I'd have her on. I've introduced her to all my team people on the Indian team. If I'm you, I have every one of the Indian people read the book. If they got to spend $6,000 to buy a book, get a book and consume the book, become the distinction being, put that thing together, and watch what happens in Mumbai on February 25th. And watch what happens. See, Mumbai isn't it. The process of who we're being while we create it is it. The who we're being when someone's in the room and what they get is it. That's it. And the greatest recipient, most of the time, is the Judy that's putting it on, the Matt that's putting it on, the the Ron Johns that putting on and the people around them. And no team has not experienced something like what we're talking about here.
Yes,
That's what happens. But they overcome it and they work together. I remember Judy being in my living room not far before the event. And she was amazing. She said, I'm the person to lead this. And she had enrolled everybody. And she was scared to death at the beginning of it. That's just who was talking to me when you called. She was scared to death. Now, the lady I talked to on the phone today, she could be anything, anywhere in the world. This is a growing experience for you.
Yes, Steve.
Pooja has been given the rights to get that book published so we get it at a lower cost. If that doesn't get it done fast enough, pay whatever it pays to get the book. Find people that want to invest some money, that want to donate some money. Do whatever it takes to get it done that's legal, moral, and ethical, and where you're being a leader and you're inviting people to use their resources. And being a leader, cut off the gossip or the backbiting and the bullshit. Don't participate in it. Don't encourage it.
Yes, Steve.
That's the best I can do, across the water, not face to face. And there's nothing here I'm judging anybody on your group with. I'm saying, man, take your Indian team, take anybody you can get from any place that's willing to work, get them enrolled, find out what you need, but have a focal point that this book is about the person that's going to walk in that room and what they're going to get by being in that room coming from a state of being. You put several hundred people in that room. They're like, what's this about? What's going on? You're just putting on it. Why would I want to fly to India for that? I can go down the street and get that. We were on a book reading one night, and I talked about the the Mumbai event. And I said, my promise is we take this book to India, we impact the entire world because of the spiritual nature of the Indian people and the history and the background is that this is a people that move. That's what I would come to India for.
Yes, Steve.
And I bought my ticket. I'll be there. Now, you guys want to change the date? I'll be there on the date you change it. I say you get the team together, you can put whatever you want in that room. Fiona originally wanted 100 people in her room. And I said to her, you're going to have to do that and you're going to have to squash it down because when people understand and read the book, there's no way you can just put 100 people in that room. We ended up with 500 people. I said that to her at my living room table. I said, you can keep it to 100, but you're going to have to force it down. You be being and watch what happens. And I don't care how many people are there. But I wouldn't be surprised if you have 1,000 people there if you heard anything I said. And if you implemented and if you went and cleaned up any of your messes. And forget about protecting yourself or looking right. You could clean them up everywhere. Clean it up with Rebecca. Clean it up with Ben. Clean it up with the person who thinks, clean it up. Say, I sent some information out before I should have sent it out. And don't try to make it right. Just clean it up. Yeah, but I learned this about it too. I shouldn't have jumped to conclusions. I should have worked with you two on that. Let's get together as a team. Watch what happens. Watch what happens in your personal life. Watch what happens in your business life. Watch what happens in your financial life. You'll have miracles all over the place. There's some that you'd be blown away by. Now, do you hear that I'm calling to tell you I love you?
Yes, Steve.
Do you hear that I'm calling you, I'm supporting you?
Yes, Steve. Yes.
I want you to know that. You are the leader.
Yes,
Lead.
Steve.
Be a leader. Lead. That's too much jive. You two are combating with each other. You guys work that out and get back with me. That's leading. Yes, that may have been that. That may have been that. What can you two do with that? Heck, you go back and have a conversation with Ben or Rebecca. You'll be lifelong friends instead of whatever is possible to be now.
Yes, Steve.
And you need to know when I'm speaking with Rebecca or anybody, I stand for you. I don't need to defend you. I know your heart. And I know humanity. Humanity will threaten to kill someone after they've helped them. So nothing surprises me.
Yes, Steve.
So I'm not taken off guard by anything. Now let me listen to anything you want to say. It's late for you. Thank you for your time.
I want to tell
Please
you.
don't use anything I've said to hurt someone.
No.
Use everything I've said to build each other.
Yes, Steve.
I love Barry Schwartz. I love Fitz Rabin.
Yes,
I
Steve.
love the person, and I'll leave his name unidentifiable, who's threatened to kill me. I love Dominique Antoine White, the convict that came to my front door. I am that. Love is, I am that. Have you ever heard me say my document with your own ear?
No, Steve.
I'm going to complete with that, and then you can say whatever you want.
Yes, Steve. Sure.
This is not an affirmation. This is who I am. I do have it in my mind, but it's not like a memorized thing. It's not a slogan. It's not a quote. It's who I'm being. It's who I choose to be in the morning, every day. So thank you. Here is who I am. I am the universe. Love is. I am that. Be still and know that I am. I am a disciple of God. I am deeply moved by spirit, the power of all creation. I am consciously aware of other people's points of view, and I honor their right to have a different point of view. I am loving kindness. Ranjan, no one is worthy of my judgment. Everyone, every single human being is worthy of my love. I am graciously authentic. I am strong, healthy, and attractive. I'm happy and peaceful. My heart is filled with peace. I am divine intuition. I am connected to infinite intelligence. I experience extraordinary discernment and decision-making powers. I dedicate all thought to union. I dedicate all thought to union. That means as I'm having a conversation, I'm looking at a way to unify. But only always. I am that I do not sweat the small stuff. And it is all small stuff, including death and dying. I am that I have no complaints. You will never hear me complaining. That creates the complaint. You will never hear me backbiting. That creates the backbiting. I am madly in love with my gorgeous, sexy, vivacious, brilliant, loving wife, Amy Blake Hardison. I'm extraordinarily patient, loving, and kind with every living thing, especially Amy Blake Hardison. I live, I love, I learn, I serve, and I bless all of humanity every waking moment of my life. This is who I am, and my mother named me Steve. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for this blessing, Steve.
Share that if and as you may, and I have no request that you share it with anyone, and you're welcome to do what you want in a way to serve people. Did I answer your question about how I would clean up some messes?
Yes, Steve. Yes, you did.
Or anything that you want to say, and I'll give you whatever you want. I'm concerned about your sleeping, not mine. It's the middle of the day for me, and it's the middle of the morning for you.
No, Steve, this is 1 a.m. and I'm receiving this as a blessing because this is what I was asking for.
Yes, I love you. I love you. I love the people that are working with you. And since this is recorded, any of you that are listening to this, please know that I mean no hurt to you, no judgment. I'm asking that we unify, that we love, and we look at our state of being. Anyone who's listening to this, get the Book of Being, however you need to get it, and whatever it costs you, get somebody to send it to you, whatever you need to do, and become a product of the state of being before you enter in that room, and invite other people to do the same thing. If we do that, we will have an experience in Mumbai that's never occurred before. Never. Never.
This is beautiful, Steve. A beautiful gift.
Thank you for who you're being, Ranjan. And help me, I've heard your name pronounced Ranjan and Ranjan. Tell me what I want to do to make sure I pronounce it for you here.
It's Ranjan.
Ranjan.
Jan. Same way pronounced. Ranjan.
Ranjan.
Ranjan. Run. Run.
Ranjan.
Yeah. Ranjan.
Run?
Ranjan.
Ranjan.
Simple. Ranjan. Yes. Absolutely.
Run. So if I spelt it for me, it would be Runjun, so I pronounce it right.
Exactly.
Ranjan.
Exactly. Yes.
Ranjan.
Ranjan.
Then I'm going to spell it so I can pronounce it rather than spell it and not pronounce it. Ranjan. Thank you. Ranjan. Thank you, Ranjan.
Thank you so much, Steve. Love you. And
anything else? I love you too.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Be blessed, and be blessed.